I don't need a useless daughter-in-law like you. Get out of here, now. My mill shouts, trying to kick me out. How can she be so arrogant when her own son is the problem? Don't worry, I'll finish moving out today. Just as I say that, the moving truck arrives at the perfect moment. After loading all my stuff, I get into my car. My husband, Bob, watches me drive away, looking stunned. My name is Michelle, a 32-year-old office worker. Bob and I have been married for 2 years. We met at a mixer. We were the same age and had a lot in common. So we hit it off and started dating. We continued to date smoothly, and we got married when we both turned 30. Before getting married, we visited each other's parents to introduce ourselves. Bob, please take good care of my daughter. You bet. Leave it to me. My dad's confident response made me think I could trust this man. I thought I could trust this man and go through life with him. Next, we visited his parents, who were very friendly and welcoming. Thank goodness Bob found someone good. We were getting worried he'd never get hitched, you know? LOL. Dad, Mom, come on. LOL. That's because there was no sign of you getting a girlfriend. LOL. Yeah, we were worried because he's our only son. My in-laws were laughing as they said this. Seeing Bob flustered, I couldn't help but join in the laughter. After that, we had our wedding and got married. The honeymoon phase was incredibly fun. Both of us had jobs, so we went on various outings. We'd go for drives, visit amusement parks, or even hit the hot springs. We both liked physical activities, so we golfed, went to batting cages, and even went surfing during the summer. Life had been truly enjoyable since we got married, filled with cherished memories. I thought our happy married life would continue like this. But then something unexpected happened. Wait, what? Dad got into an accident. Bob received a sudden phone call from my mill, Beth. It appeared that Ken, my Phil, had gotten into an accident while driving for work. Bob and I immediately rushed to the hospital. Dad, are you all right? Oh, Bob and Michelle, thanks for coming. How are you, Ken? Sorry to worry you all. Turns out I've seriously hurt my legs and back, and there's no guarantee it'll heal. Really, Bob and I were shocked. It seemed that Ken's injuries were quite severe. Beth, looking downcast, took us to the hospital lounge. I have a favor to ask. Taking care of Ken by myself will be difficult. Could you both come and live with us? It was a request from Beth to move in together. Bob and I hesitated for a moment, but we couldn't leave a worried Beth alone. We nodded in agreement. All right, we'll move back home. Really? Thank you. Beth looked very relieved. She must have been really anxious. If it would relieve Beth's stress, it was worth it. So we canceled our apartment lease and moved into the in-laws' house. Ken is still hospitalized, but we decided it would be better to move our stuff before he gets discharged. Michelle, how was work? You must be tired. Dinner's ready. Thank you, Beth. When Bob and I lived alone, I was the one doing the cooking. So it's really a blessing to come home to a prepared meal. Was work tough today? Thanks for always working hard. Thank you. It's a lot more responsibility now, but I'm fulfilled. I'm glad to hear that. Eat well to keep your strength up. Yes, thank you. Beth is really kind. I felt grateful for deciding to move in together. Several weeks later, Ken was discharged from the hospital and returned home. Ken had to live in a wheelchair and needed assistance for the bathroom and bathing. Most of the caregiving was done by Beth. On our days off, Bob and I would relieve Beth and handle the caregiving tasks together. Life was going well as a close-knit family, but about a year later, something seemed off with Beth's attitude. Michelle, when are you planning on having kids? Well, Bob and I have been waiting for it to happen naturally. Do you really have that luxury? You've been married for 3 years, and you're already 33. It wouldn't be strange if you had a child or two by now. I suppose you're right. From then on, Beth began to pester us constantly about not having children. Is work keeping you too busy to have children? You should just quit. It's not like you're doing anything important. What? To be honest, it's a hassle to cook for someone who isn't planning on having kids. Really, Beth had changed her attitude toward me. Feeling overwhelmed by Beth's mounting pressure, I talked to Bob about it. Wait, my mom said that. Yeah, honestly, it's really hard to hear that kind of stuff over and over. I get it, but all we can do is wait for it to happen naturally. True. Don't worry, I'll talk to my mom about it. Thank you. I felt relieved after Bob said that. However, Beth's pestering didn't seem to let up. Do you really have any pride in continuing that job? You can live comfortably on Bob's income alone, right? Plus, we don't even pay rent living here. I'd rather you quit that silly job and start having kids already. Beth kept badgering me like this almost every day. And then I noticed a change in Bob, too. He started coming home much later than usual. Did you have to work late again? Yeah, it's been draining every day. Bob said this, but he didn't seem particularly worn out. In fact, he looked almost excited. On weekends, he would often go out, saying he had plans with his friends. So I ended up taking care of Ken by myself. Michelle, is dinner ready yet? I'm making it now. Please wait a bit longer. Ike, you're so useless. Don't you think you should just quit your job and stay home? Beth took every opportunity to pile everything onto me. So, during weekends, I never had time to rest and would start the work week totally worn out. What was once an enjoyable living arrangement had become nothing but agony. But I really have to keep living like this. The thought alone sent chills down my spine. And then I learned a shocking truth. It happened during work one day. I received a message on WhatsApp from Hannah, a close friend since college. Curious, I opened the image she had sent. What? What is this? The picture showed Bob holding hands with an unknown woman walking around the tourist area. Bob had left the house for a couple of days, claiming it was a business trip. Hannah was on vacation with her husband and happened to spot Bob with this woman, quickly snapping a photo. Sorry to spring this on you, but I thought you should know. Thanks, Hannah. You saved me. Something inside me broke. Bob was having an affair. He probably couldn't care less about my problems with Beth. Just thinking about it filled me with intense rage. I'll get my revenge. That was the strong resolve I formed. I immediately called Bob, but as expected, he didn't answer right away. After multiple attempts, he finally picked up. "What is it?" "I'm busy at work." "Sorry, but why do I hear sounds like you're outside?" "Ah, I heard a welcome in the background." "Are you really at work?" "What are you talking about?" "I said I'm at work. I'm on the move." "I gotta go." Bob hastily hung up, sounding flustered. I then hired a private investigator to gather sufficient evidence to demand a divorce. When I got home, Beth was standing there, arms crossed. "Finally, you're home. Get started on dinner now." Beth barked orders at me, but I realized that I didn't want to listen to this unreasonable person anymore. "No way." "What?" I said, "I'm not cooking dinner just for you, Beth." "What on earth are you saying? You think it's okay to have that attitude with your mother-in-law? Do you think it's okay for a mother-in-law to treat her daughter-in-law like crap? You expect me to be obedient all the time. Well, I never. How dare you? Just get to the kitchen and cook." Beth yelled at me like that. I made dinner, but only for Ken. Then I helped Ken onto his wheelchair and took him to the dining table. "Here's your dinner, Ken." "Ah, thank you. Aren't you eating, Michelle?" I lead out. "Oh, all right then." "Hey, why haven't you prepared anything for me?" Ignoring yelling Beth, I left the house. After eating out and relaxing, I spent the night in a budget hotel. During that time, Beth tried to call me several times, but I decided not to return home until I calmed down. About a week later, I received a call from the private investigator and went to pick up the investigation report. Sure enough, Bob was having an affair. They even had clear photographic evidence. I took the evidence and returned home. "Where have you been?" Beth was fuming when I got back. "Michelle, you can't just leave the house like that." Bob joins Beth in blaming me. "Can you believe this guy who's been cheating on me? You'll be doing all the housework and caregiving until I say it's enough." "No way." "What did you just say?" "Michelle, you have to accept some form of punishment for putting my mom in a bind. Then let's get divorced." "What?" Both Beth and Bob were flustered when I brought up divorce. "What are you talking about? Don't just casually bring up divorce. There's nothing casual about it. I've been suffering from your mom's constant nagging, and you've never stood up for me." "Well, that's between Michelle and Mom, right? See, that's how you really feel. You just don't want to get involved in any hassle. No wife wants to stay in a household where her husband doesn't value her and her meal is relentlessly awful. But I do care about you." As Bob tries to make an excuse, Beth interrupts. "Fine, go ahead and divorce. What? We don't need a useless daughter-in-law like you." "Mom, what are you saying? You can find someone much better, maybe even younger. You can have kids. I'll be relieved when you're gone. Just leave." Beth starts yelling, trying to chase me out. How can she be so brazen when her son is the problem? Well, she probably doesn't know about his affair. "Don't worry, I'll move out today." Just then, a moving truck pulls up. "What the? Michelle, what's this?" As you can see, movers. I've already found a new place and signed the lease. I just need to move my stuff. You can't be serious. The movers efficiently load my belongings onto the truck. I get into my car. Let's talk for lawyers next. You cheating jerk. What? I toss out photos of his affair through the window to a stunned Bob and Beth. Both their faces turn white as Beth picks up the photos. After confirming, I started the car engine and drove away. Bob just stood there, staring blankly as I left. Beth looked at him in disbelief. Later, I contacted a lawyer to demand a divorce and also sought alimony from both Bob and his affair partner. As a result, I received $30,000 from each of them. Turns out, my ex-husband Bob had a lower income than me and is now knee-deep in debt and struggling big time. Ken was furious about the affair and kicked him out of the house. Bob now spends his days commuting between his workplace and his apartment, trying to pay off his debts. Beth, who had been pushing all the house chores and caregiving on me, now has to do it all herself. She's even thrown her back out doing it. Apparently, she's now living a life of solitude, doing house chores and caregiving while visiting the doctor. Since I often told my neighbors about the abuse from Beth, they've been avoiding her. I can't help but think that it serves both mother and son right. Meanwhile, I've been thriving in my career, earning a stable income, and living a fulfilling life. I plan to continue focusing on my job and aim for further career advancement.